Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to today's edition of reTfos, where I take old stories I've narrated and update into modern audio standards. This particular story is called How Humanity Manages, written by D. Speyer. The human floated in an orbital spaceport bar, sipping a bowl of hot apple cider and reading a dull news article on his datapad. He was just killing time, really, before his ship left. The Baculat flew in on artificial wings. To human eyes, Baculats looked like a cross between a cow and an elephant. They were clumsy in microgravity, hence the artificial aids. The newcomer ordered a very strong fermented grass porridge. "Are you sure?" the bartender asked. "Yes," the Baculat snarled, and trailed off into a profanity the human couldn't follow. The galactic standard language worked well for most things, but profanity was still subject to regional variations. The bartender went to prepare the order, and the human looked up. This had the potential to be more interesting than the news. "It can't be that bad, can it?" he asked. "I spent the last 5 years mapping 1.5 chloronada pathways. In simulation, I can increase crop yields by 17%. The Minister of Bioscience is more interested in seducing the Minister of Agriculture than doing their job. So I've gotten no instructions or resources for going forward. 5 years, a 17% potential, all wasted." The bartender returned with a Baculat's order. He floated a money card across the bar and took a big gulp of it. He shuddered as the chemical slammed into his nervous system. "How do your people manage it, anyway?" Humans in spaceport bars got that question pretty often. Since the bars had started stocking ethanolic beverages, it was no longer considered rude. He gave a traditional answer. "Manage what? To always have such good leadership." "Good leadership, always. We've had terrible leaders, and our current crop is mediocre at best." "Mediocre by your standards," the Baculat said, taking another hit of his intoxicant. "But you went from subsistence agriculture to spacefaring under 1,000 standard years. You have almost continuous real GDP growth. I can't remember the last yearly technology roundup without a human invention." "That happened despite our leaders more often than because of them. When we had our information revolution in the late 20th century, it took decades for our leaders to notice. 90% of their constituents were using the global data network on a daily basis, and they were still discussing whether to think of it as a truck or a series of tubes. And the Industrial Revolution was even worse. Half of that was in the late 18th century England, under George III. The man was literally insane. He held conversations with trees while water-powered textile mills went up around him." The Baculat's smart monocle lit up with historical context. He grunted vague acknowledgement, then asked, "So, who decides what new technology gets funded?" "Venture capitalists, I guess. It's their job, anyway. They invest in promising ideas and get paid if their picks succeed. And they are wise? Hardly. Idiots, mostly. Trying to imitate each other, but do it first. Jumping on and off bandwagons fast enough to make your head spin. They go under all the time. So how do the right things get funded? Well, there's a lot of them, and it only takes one to fund something. Lots of junk gets funded too." "Not everything can work like that. What about Wikipedia? I use it myself. It's the biggest, best organized, most reliable compendium of knowledge that I've ever seen. There's got to be some solid leadership behind that." "Nope. The leaders resolve conflicts that can't be settled amicably, and they mostly do that badly. Most authors have no interaction with leadership. The organization happens because everyone wants it organized." "It can't all be like that. Doesn't the largest religion have almost 2 billion adherents?" "Something like that. But its biggest period of growth was while the leadership was backstabbing each other and finding sinecures for the children despite being sworn to chastity. Meanwhile, the missionaries, well, the conquistadors anyway, were busy getting things done on the other side of the world." "Hang on. I've been to human cities. They're so safe. Are you going to tell me that you did that without law enforcement?" "We have law enforcement, but hardly anybody depends on it. Crime sort of is withered away in the late 20th century, despite a police force nobody would want around. Our historians are still pretty confused about it, to be honest." The human's datapad beeped. He glanced at it, slipped it in his pocket, and finished off his cider. "My ship is boarding," he said. "Hope that works out for you. You know, there's a human VC on the station. You could pitch your 1.5 chloro whatever thing to him. Might get somewhere." You asked how we managed to always have good leaders. We don't. We managed to never need them. And he floated out of the bar, leaving a thoughtful Paculate behind him. End of story. I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Casper Arnholt, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.